Thomas Gibbs was 35 years old. He lived in Freehold, New Jersey, a small town about an hour south of New York City. Friends described him as adventurous, someone who loved exploring nature, someone who wasn't afraid to take on a challenge. In the summer of 2025, Thomas decided to visit the Grand Canyon. It's unclear if this was his first time there or if he'd been before. What we do know is that on July 22nd, he was hiking alone on one of the most dangerous trails in the entire park, the Grandview Trail. That morning around noon, Thomas made his last contact with the outside world, a brief communication. We don't know exactly what was said, and then silence. No phone calls, no text messages, no social media posts. Thomas Gibbs had disappeared, but here's the strange part. Nobody reported him missing for 6 full days. Why? Was he traveling alone with no one expecting to hear from him? Was his family used to him going off the grid during hikes? We may never know. But on July 28th, exactly 6 days after his last contact, family and friends finally called authorities. Thomas Gibbs was officially missing. Park rangers immediately rushed to Grandview Point, a popular overlook on the canyon's south rim. And there, sitting in the parking lot, was Thomas's vehicle, a Tesla Cybertruck, one of those futuristic-looking electric trucks that's hard to miss. The truck was locked. Everything appeared normal, but Thomas, he was nowhere to be found. To understand what might have happened to Thomas Gibbs, you need to understand the Grandview Trail. This isn't some easy nature walk. The Grandview Trail is one of the steepest, most challenging, and most dangerous trails in the entire Grand Canyon. Let me paint you a picture. The trail starts at Grandview Point, which sits at about 7,200 feet above sea level. From there, it plunges down more than 3,000 feet in just 3 miles. That's like descending from the top of a skyscraper, but instead of stairs, you're walking down loose rocks, narrow switchbacks, and crumbling edges. The trail leads to a place called Horseshoe Mesa. It's a flat-topped mesa that juts out into the canyon. Beautiful, absolutely. Deadly? Also yes. Here's what makes this trail so dangerous. First, the heat. In July, temperatures at the bottom of the Grand Canyon can reach 115 degrees Fahrenheit. That's hot enough to kill you. Literally, heat exhaustion can happen in minutes. Heat stroke even faster. Your brain starts to swell, you become confused, disoriented. You might think you're fine, but you're actually dying. Second, the terrain. One wrong step and you're falling hundreds of feet. The trail has exposed cliff edges, loose rocks that can give way under your boots. And if you go off-trail even by a few yards, you can get completely lost in a maze of rock formations. Third, water, or rather the lack of it. There's no water on the Grandview Trail. None. You have to carry every drop you need. Park rangers recommend 1 gallon of water per person per day. That's 8 pounds of water, just for 1 day. If you run out, you're in serious trouble. And finally, isolation. The Grandview Trail isn't as popular as some other trails in the canyon. You might not see another person for hours. If something goes wrong, there's no one to help you. This is the trail that Thomas Gibbs was hiking, alone, in July, in one of the hottest, most unforgiving places on Earth. As if searching for a missing person in the Grand Canyon wasn't hard enough, nature decided to make things even more difficult. On July 4th, 18 days before Thomas disappeared, lightning struck the north rim of the canyon. A wildfire ignited. They called it the Dragon Bravo Fire. At first, it was small, a few acres burning in remote wilderness. Fire crews monitored it but didn't worry too much. Lightning-caused fires in the Grand Canyon are common in summer. Most burn themselves out naturally. But this fire was different. By July 12th, high winds whipped through the canyon. Overnight, the fire spread across 500 acres. It exploded. By the time Thomas Gibbs went missing on July 22nd, the Dragon Bravo fire was raging. And by the time search teams started looking for him on July 28th, the fire had become the largest wildfire in the entire continental United States. Tens of thousands of acres were burning. Smoke filled the canyon, thick choking smoke that made it hard to see and even harder to breathe. Helicopters couldn't fly. The smoke was too dense. Ground crews had to navigate around active fire zones. Areas they needed to search were simply too dangerous to enter. And the heat, it wasn't just the normal summer heat anymore. The fire added its own deadly temperatures. Search and rescue teams were working in conditions that can only be described as hell. Imagine trying to find one person in an area the size of a small state, with cliffs and caves and endless hiding places, while smoke blocks your view and fire threatens to cut off your escape routes. It was like searching for a needle in a haystack, except the haystack was on fire. This was the nightmare scenario facing the team searching for Thomas Gibbs. Despite the overwhelming challenges, search and rescue teams didn't give up. The Grand Canyon Search and Rescue Team is one of the best in the world. They train for these exact situations. Dangerous terrain, they are experts. Extreme heat, they know how to handle it. Missing hikers, they've found hundreds. But Thomas Gibbs, he was proving impossible to find. The search focused on the Grandview Trail area and Horseshoe Mesa. Teams used everything at their disposal. Helicopters with thermal imaging cameras flew over the canyon when smoke allowed. These cameras can detect body heat, even from hundreds of feet in the air. Drones equipped with high-resolution cameras searched areas too dangerous for humans to reach. Ground teams experienced in high-angle rescue rappelled down cliff faces, checked caves and crevices, and hiked every inch of trail. They searched for any sign of Thomas. A dropped water bottle, a piece of clothing, footprints, anything. Days turned into a week. The search continued. They expanded the search area. Maybe Thomas had wandered off trail. Maybe he'd gotten lost and headed in the wrong direction. They checked emergency rooms and hospitals in nearby towns. Maybe he'd somehow gotten out and was being treated somewhere. They contacted other hikers who'd been in the area on July 22nd. Did anyone see a man matching Thomas's description? Nothing. No one had seen him. No one remembered him. It was as if Thomas Gibbs had simply vanished into thin air. After more than a week of intensive searching, the operation had to scale back. Search and rescue teams couldn't sustain that level of effort indefinitely. They had limited resources. They had other emergencies to respond to. The search for Thomas Gibbs transitioned to what they call continuous limited mode. That means they're still looking. Rangers on routine patrols keep an eye out for any clues. If someone reports seeing something suspicious, they investigate. But the active, all-hands-on-deck search, that had to end. As of now, in late November 2025, more than 4 months after his disappearance, Thomas Gibbs has not been found. No body, no belongings, no answers. So what happened to Thomas Gibbs? Let's look at the possibilities. Theory 1, heat exhaustion or heat stroke. This is probably the most likely explanation. July in the Grand Canyon is brutally hot. We're talking temperatures that can kill. If Thomas was hiking during the hottest part of the day, which is when he was last heard from, he could have become overheated. Heat stroke messes with your brain. You become confused. Your judgment fails. You might think you're fine, but you're actually in serious danger. People suffering from heat stroke often do strange things. They wander off in random directions. They remove their clothes even though they're burning up. They hide in small spaces. If this happened to Thomas, he could have left the trail and collapsed somewhere in the vast expanse of the canyon. In that maze of rocks and boulders, finding a single person is almost impossible. Theory 2, a fall. The Grandview Trail has exposed cliff edges. One wrong step, especially if you're tired or dehydrated and you're falling. Falls in the Grand Canyon are often fatal, and bodies. They can land in places that are completely hidden from view, deep crevices under overhangs, in spots that searchers simply can't see even with helicopters and drones. If Thomas fell, his body might be there in the canyon, but in a location that's virtually impossible to find. Theory 3, got lost. The Grand Canyon is massive, 1,902 square miles. If you get off the main trail, it's incredibly easy to get turned around. Everything looks the same. Red rock walls, endless ridges, no landmarks. If Thomas took a wrong turn or tried to take a shortcut or simply got confused in the heat, he could have ended up miles from where searchers were looking. And the deeper you go into the backcountry, the less likely you are to be found. Theory 4, animal attack. This is less likely, but worth mentioning. The Grand Canyon has mountain lions, it has bears, though they are rare, it has rattlesnakes. Most hikers never encounter dangerous wildlife, but in an extremely unlucky scenario, an animal attack could have occurred. However, this would typically leave signs: blood, torn clothing, something. No such evidence has been found. Theory 5. Voluntary disappearance. Could Thomas have wanted to disappear? Did he walk away from his life on purpose? His family says no. They say Thomas had no reason to run away. No financial troubles, no legal problems, no relationship issues that they knew of. But people are complicated. Sometimes they're dealing with things they don't share with anyone. That said, voluntarily disappearing and leaving your vehicle behind in one of the most dangerous places in America seems like an extremely risky way to start a new life. So what do I think happened? Based on the evidence, my guess is either heat-related illness or a fall. Thomas was hiking alone in extreme heat on a dangerous trail. If he became disoriented from the heat and wandered off trail, or if he fell from a cliff edge, his body could be somewhere in that vast canyon, hidden from view, waiting to be found. Maybe one day a hiker will stumble across a clue, but for now it remains a mystery. Thomas Gibbs isn't the only person to vanish in the Grand Canyon. In fact, the Grand Canyon has more missing persons cases than any other national park in America. In 2018 alone, there were 56 missing person reports. At the Grand Canyon, 56. That's more than one per week. Now, most of those people were eventually found. Some were just late returning from hikes. Some got lost but were rescued. Some had medical emergencies but survived. But others, they were never seen again. Let me tell you about a few. In 2015, a 22-year-old river guide named Morgan Heimer disappeared during a rafting trip. He was 6 days into an 8-day journey down the Colorado River. Experienced, knowledgeable, skilled. One moment he was there, the next, gone. Despite massive search efforts, Morgan was never found. His case remains unsolved. In 2016, a man named Floyd Roberts III vanished during a multi-day hike. He was an experienced hiker. He knew the trails, but he never made it out. His body has never been recovered. These are just 2 examples. There are dozens more. Why does the Grand Canyon have so many disappearances? Several reasons. First, sheer size. The Grand Canyon is enormous, almost 2,000 square miles, of some of the most rugged terrain on Earth. You could hide an entire city in there and never find it. Second, extreme conditions. Heat, cold, lack of water, dangerous cliffs. The canyon can kill you in a dozen different ways. Third, human error. People underestimate the canyon. They think, oh, it's just a hike. They don't bring enough water. They don't tell anyone where they're going. They go alone. They push themselves too hard. And by the time they realize their mistake, it's too late. The Grand Canyon is beautiful, awe-inspiring, one of the natural wonders of the world. But it's also unforgiving. It doesn't care if you're experienced or not. It doesn't care if you're young or old. One mistake, and you become another statistic. What do you think happened to Thomas Gibbs? Let me know in the comments below. If you want to see more missing persons mysteries from national parks, subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell. Stay safe out there. And remember, respect nature. It's more powerful than you think.